feel weird not taking minutes. I feel weird not taking minutes.
You're live now.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining virtually and in person the scoping meeting for the Summit Station project. If you give us just another minute or two, we have some people still trickling into City Hall and joining on the webinar. So bear with us just another moment and we'll get going with the presentation.
I can't see YouTube. I can see the webinar where we've stated 20.
All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Christina Taylor. I'm the Community Development Director here for the City of Beaumont. The meeting you have this evening is for the Beaumont Summit Station, which is a proposed project up between Cherry Valley Boulevard and Brookside Avenue, east of Interstate 10. The purpose of this meeting tonight is to gather information from interested agencies as well as the community on issues that may need to be analyzed in the environmental document for the project. This is the first step in many steps of project review and analysis that will take place. At this point in time, only an application has been submitted. There have been no rezonings, no changes to the property, no actions or approvals that have been taken by the City Planning Department or by the Planning Commission or City Council. So this will be the first step in the first opportunity for those in attendance to comment either in person, via email or telephone, either this evening or throughout the month of October, where we'll be accepting comments. We'll have a presentation tonight from the project applicant. We'll talk about the project and the environmental review process. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Carrie Cano, representing the project applicant, and she'll be presenting a short presentation to talk about the project. After that time, we will have an opportunity for public comment. And you can, if you're joining us via the Zoom webinar, you can put your questions into the chat. If you're in the attendance, either in the City Hall or in the overflow, you can fill out a comment card and we will call your name up when it's your turn to speak. If you are watching virtually through the YouTube live stream, you can call in the public comment line, or you can send an email into the Deputy City Clerk or to myself, whose information was on the scoping meeting notice. At this time, we'll go ahead and start the presentation, then we'll come back on and start taking comments.
just pause for just a minute. I just want to make sure we have audio. I have an email saying there's no audio on YouTube.
Yeah,
I just wanna
outside
verify.
They don't have audio yet.
Okay.
Didn't have it in the gym.
The audio's okay, but it's really faint, so I'm working on something here. So they said don't start the meeting until.
We haven't started anything, so I'll repeat everything again once we get the audio fixed, so nobody will miss out on anything. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Can we just bring our chairs in here?
Can they bring chairs in here? There's not that many of
There's
them.
not a huge group, we could fit in here.
Well, the issue is we need it to be streamed to the public, so we have to fix it regardless.
Test audio, 1, 2, 3. Test audio, 1, 2, 3. Test audio, 1, 2, 3. Test audio, 1, 2, 3.
Mayor says he has audio.
Testing audio, 1, 2, 3. Test audio, 1, 2, 3. Test audio, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I'm getting audio is good now.
Test audio, 1, 2, 3. That's. Testing audio, 1, 2, 3. Test audio. We've bumped it up as much as we can on that.
For everyone who's listening on YouTube or on the webinar, we're having some technical difficulties with the audio in the overflow here at City Hall. So bear with us just a minute, and we're going to start the opening again so everybody can hear. So bear with us. Thank you.
I got an idea. I'm gonna use the Zoom presenter, and that is a little bit bigger. No, it's. The other thing I can do is get a soundbar. What's the light?
Hi, testing the audio. Testing audio in the overflow. Testing.
I heard someone say, there we go.
Testing audio in the overflow. Can you hear? Testing. Testing.
Still waiting on IT.
For our Zoom and YouTube listeners who do have audio, we're still working on the audio in the overflow room at City Hall. So thank you for your patience. We will restart the meeting just as soon as possible. Hi, testing audio in the overflow. Testing audio in the overflow. Testing, testing in the overflow. Testing, testing in the overflow. All right, everyone, thank you for your patience. I think we have resolved our audio communication issues.
They are adjusting the volume in this one here, but I let them know we were going to start, and they can come in the hallway or this room to hear better. We have good audio in that room and in the hallway.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, thank you everyone for your patience while we resolved the audio issues here at City Hall. We now have availability in the overflow rooms and in the hallway here at City Hall, so we should have ample opportunity to listen. For our Zoom and YouTube listeners, thanks again for your patience while we got that worked out. So for those of you who heard the intro, I'm going to give it again so that everybody has the opportunity to hear why we are here this evening. My name is Christina Taylor. I'm the Community Development Director here with the City of Beaumont. The Planning Department has received an application for the Summit Station project located north of Brookside, south of Cherry Valley Boulevard, and east of Interstate 10 in the City of Beaumont. We're here this evening to gather comments from the community and from interested agencies and parties on issues that may need to be considered during the environmental review process for this project. This is the first step in many steps of project review and analysis. There have been no changes to the property yet, no zoning changes, no general plan amendments, no modifications to any existing entitlements. The Planning Department, the Planning Commission, nor the City Council have considered this item, and there, again, have been no approvals issued and no changes made yet. So tonight, this is the first step in many steps where we will be gathering information and input from the public and taking all of these items into consideration as we move through the project review and analysis process. We're getting ready to have a presentation from the project applicant that will go over the project and the environmental review process. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Carrie Cano from Kinley Horn to give our presentation. Once the presentation is complete, we will have time for public comment. If you're in person, you can fill out a comment card and the city clerk will call you up to speak. If you are watching via Zoom in the webinar, you can put your question or your comment into the chat. If you're watching on YouTube, you may call into the comment line and you'll be patched through into the meeting room where we can hear your comment. So at this time, let's hear our presentation from the applicant.
Thank you very much, Christina. If we can just pull up the PowerPoint presentation, please, on the screen. There we go. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate everybody's time this evening. My name is Carrie Cano. I'm an environmental planner with Kinley Horn and Associates, and we have been selected to prepare the environmental impact report for the Beaumont Summit Station project, which we're going to speak about tonight. So thank you very much for everybody being here. So why are we here tonight? Christina gave us a little bit of an introduction. This meeting tonight is a scoping meeting for the environmental document for the Beaumont Summit Station project. As Christina mentioned, this is early public consultation. So this is truly the first step in the environmental process for the project. The purpose of a scoping meeting is also to learn about your environmental concerns regarding the project from potentially affected agencies and individuals, all of you, and then an opportunity to identify and address issues that might otherwise arise late in the process. This is really, really important, everyone. We want to know what your concerns are up front so that they're adequately addressed per the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines in the environmental document. The purpose of a scoping meeting is also to help focus the EIR's content and to identify potential alternatives to the proposed project. So the CEQA process, as we call it, CEQA stands for California Environmental Quality Act. It was a piece of legislation that was enacted in 1970 and is required for all discretionary approvals within jurisdictions. So what that means is it is a piece of legislation that requires agencies, lead agencies like cities and counties, to assess the environmental impacts of all types of development. The purpose is also to inform decision makers and the public of potential environmental effects of project approval. And the first piece of that, the first piece in that process is a notice of preparation, which was made public a couple of weeks ago, and it provides consultation and focuses subsequent environmental efforts. So roles and responsibilities. So the role of the developer in this process is to design and submit a development proposal. And as Christina mentioned, the city has received an application for this project. That is where we are at in the process. So an application has been received, and the city is starting the process of processing that application. The role of city staff, review and evaluate the developer's project, which is being done right now, to manage the EIR consultant, that is me and my team, and then make recommendations to decision makers later on down the road, Planning Commission and City Council. The role of the environmental consultant, which is me, is to evaluate the impacts of project approval on the existing environment. So we take the proposed site as it is now, which is undeveloped, and we analyze the impacts that the proposed development would bring to that project site. And then the role of the decision makers, in this case Planning Commission and City Council, are to evaluate and approve or deny the proposed project. So I think it's important for this project to give you a little bit of project background. So some of you may or may not know that the project site is mostly located within the previously approved Sunny Cal specific plan, which was approved in August of 2007. The Sunny Cal specific plan was comprised mostly of residential dwelling units, also some small parks, trails, and open space. So that was approved back in 2007. At the time that project site was processed, the majority of the specific plan was actually in the county of Riverside and not in the city of Beaumont proper. But as part of that project approval later in 2017, the project site was annexed from the county of Riverside into the city of Beaumont. So the project site now, as it stands, is in the city of Beaumont proper. So the project site encompasses portions of the previously approved Sunny Cal specific plan project boundaries, but not all of it. So the project location. So Christina mentioned earlier, the project site is generally located in the northwestern portion of the city of Beaumont. The project site is approximately 186 acres south of Cherry Valley Boulevard, north of Brookside Avenue and east of I-10. The current zoning for the project site is specific plan. As I mentioned before, there was a previously approved project on the site that changed the zoning to specific plan. That was the Sunny Cal specific plan. All proposed changes associated with the proposed project, the Beaumont Summit Station project, are located within areas previously annexed to the city of Beaumont by LAFCO. And then the APNs are listed there as well. So this is just an aerial of the project location. As you can see, the project boundaries are shown there in red. All right, so the proposed project. So the proposed project includes a general plan amendment, a specific plan amendment, tentative parcel map, plot plan approval, and a development agreement. In addition, the proposed project includes the following elements. So the project site is proposed to be divided into 5 parcels, with parcels 1, 2, and 3, which in a minute you'll see a graphic that identifies that as planning area 1, is designated for e-commerce uses with supporting office uses. The parcels are proposed to be developed with 3 separate e-commerce buildings, and I'll show you a graphic of that in just a moment, as follows. Building 1 at approximately 985,000 square feet, Building 2 at approximately 1.2 million square feet, and Building 3 at approximately 358,000 square feet. The project proposes to amend the existing general plan designation from single-family residential, which was the prior project approval with Sunny-Cal specific plan, to industrial for parcels 1, 2, and 3 to allow for these e-commerce uses. And this is a graphic showing just a portion of the overall site plan that shows those buildings 1, 2, and 3. All right, so parcel 4, which is also defined as specific plan area 2, and the next slide is a graphic so you can kind of get some context there, would include the development up to 150,000 square feet of commercial uses as follows. A 4-story hotel at approximately 100,000 square feet, a restaurant at approximately 25,000 square feet, and retail uses at approximately 25,000 square feet. The project proposes to amend the existing general plan designation from single-family residential to general commercial for parcel 4 to allow for those commercial uses that I just mentioned. Parcel 5, or specific plan planning area 3, would remain as open space. The existing general plan designation of single-family residential would be amended to open space to allow open space uses. The project would also include various on and off-site improvements, including roadway improvements, utility connections improvements, and rights-of-way to support the proposed project. And this is the graphic that I was mentioning here when I was talking about kind of the breakdown between the planning areas. So planning area 1 is kind of that light blue shade that you see there. That is for e-commerce. Planning area 2 up there in the northeastern corner, that would be for those commercial uses, the hotel and retail and restaurant uses. And then the green area down in the southern portion of the project site, planning area 3, would be for those open space uses. This is just a table that I think helps to kind of identify the changes between the previously approved Sunny-Cal specific plan and kind of what the breakdown in land uses were that were approved with that versus the proposed project as you see here. So generally speaking, the Sunny-Cal specific plan was mostly comprised of single-family residential uses. No residential uses are proposed as part of the Beaumont Summit Station project, and it would be replaced with e-commerce, commercial, and open space uses. So the project includes the following discretionary approvals: a specific plan amendment, adoption of a specific plan, a general plan amendment, a tentative parcel map, a site development plan, site plan or plot plan, and a statutory development agreement. All right, so the environmental impact report focus areas. One thing I do want to mention here, everybody, is that the city has elected to have us prepare an environmental impact report, as I mentioned before. The thing that I wanted to mention with that is that an environmental impact report is the highest level of environmental clearance. So in other words, it's a document that requires the most analysis of environmental impacts, and so that's what we're preparing. So based on comments that we receive on the NOP and scoping meeting, the following topics are anticipated to be addressed in the project EIR: aesthetics, air quality, biological and cultural resources, energy uses, geology and soils, greenhouse gas emissions, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, land use and planning, mineral resources, noise impacts, population and housing, public services, recreation, transportation and traffic, tribal cultural resources, utilities and service systems, and wildfire. All right, so one of the wonderful things about the CEQA process is that there are multiple opportunities for public involvement. And as Christina mentioned, this is just the first of many, many opportunities. We are in the very beginning stages of this entire process. And so the first step to obtain public comments is during the notice of preparation period, which we are in right now. So we are in the 30-day required notice of preparation comment period, and comments will be accepted through October 22nd, 2021. The next step in the public comment process will be when the draft EIR goes out for public review. So right now we are just beginning to prepare not only the environmental impact report itself, but all of the technical studies and data and modeling that is required to support the EIR. We are just beginning that right now. Once we prepare the environmental document and all the technical studies, all of that information will be made publicly available to all of you to review. We're anticipating that the draft EIR will be available for public review roughly late winter this year, early winter next year, for a period of 45 days. So that means that the City of Beaumont will accept comments on the draft EIR for a period of 45 days. So that's another great opportunity for everybody to provide comments. Once we gather everybody's comments, either oral or written, we will provide written responses to all of the EIR comments obtained during that 45-day public review period, and we will publish the responses to those comments no less than 10 days prior to any public hearings on the project. Notices will also be provided on dates for Planning Commission and City Council hearings for the project, and obviously, just like other Planning Commission and City Council hearings, the public is invited to attend and comment as well. And so with that, you know, as both Christina and I mentioned, the main purpose of this meeting tonight is to actually hear from you all. We want to hear your questions or concerns or comments about the environmental impacts of the proposed project. I'm going to go ahead and leave this screen up if that's okay, because it does contain all of the information to provide comments. We would be happy if you would orally give us comments this evening, but please know that if you either don't feel comfortable or maybe you provide comments orally this evening and you have some additional comments, you can absolutely also provide written comments. So you can either email them to Christina, her email is there, you can fax them. You can also call Christina and she can receive comments over the telephone, as well as you can also drop a comment letter off here at the City Hall if you don't want to mail it in. So there's multiple ways. So please don't feel that you are hindered by oral comments this evening. And so with that, Nicole, would you like to call the first speaker, or would we like to go to the chat or Zoom?
So far, we don't have anything in the chat right now. So I know we do have some callers on the line that have been on for a while. So let's go to Carol and take our first caller from the phone line. If in the meantime, if anybody in person here at City Hall would like to fill out a comment card after hearing the presentation, if you haven't already turned one in, please take this moment or two to do that and bring it over to us here in the chambers, and we will start calling folks momentarily.
I have 3 callers on the line. I'm going to transfer the first caller in.
Caller, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, loud and clear.
Okay, if I could get you to mute your YouTube feed so that we don't get an echo.
Okay, no problem. Is that better?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to start the clock at 3 minutes. Go right ahead.
Cool. All right, no problem. So my name is Pastor Zach, and I'm speaking on behalf of Californians Allied for a Responsible Economy, or CARE California. This evening, CARE California's mission is to ensure that development projects across California minimize environmental and public health impacts and ensure community benefits, including the advancement of the cause of the skilled construction workforce, a unique and invaluable field which provides the engine for so much of the state's robust economic strength. As a community coalition group, we are interested in the public's health and safety, especially that of construction workers. We therefore have a particular interest in construction-related environmental issues, including air pollution, noise, greenhouse gas emissions, and on-site soil contamination and hazardous materials. We hope that the EIR will comprehensively address these issues. We firmly believe that the decisions made by developers have an enormous impact on our environment and community. We are heartened by the applicant's commitment heretofore, and we hope that the applicant will be willing to work with community groups to be responsive to the people of Beaumont to ensure a successful project. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Carol, you can send the next one whenever you're ready.
Okay, I will send the next caller in momentarily.
Caller, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm Kevin Gates.
Okay, let me get your volume adjusted because it's a little light.
Yes.
And if I could ask you to mute your YouTube feed so that we don't get an echo.
Yes, I've actually muted that. My name is Kevin Gates. I'm a resident of Fairway Canyons who uses the interchange between Cherry Valley and 10 Freeway, which will be the main interchange between your development and our community. My concern, and this is from a concern, I am actually a trained city planner. I've been city planner for the 39th Air Wing of Air Force, and I've also been planner for the Texas Department of Transportation. My concern is the traffic involved as far as the trucks that will be involved in the warehouse involvement. You call this a e-commerce enterprise. There'll be numerous vehicles that will be coming and going on Cherry Valley to the 10 Freeway. And in the process, that will be causing congestion for both Cherry Valley. There's also another development on the north side of that site that is actually laying the foundation right now, currently. And then we also have 1,500 homes that are in Fairway Canyons that are relying on the interchange at Cherry Valley. They're all residents of Beaumont and also paying Melrose for development and improvements in that community itself. So my concern is that this change in zoning from residential to industrial will cause an excess amount of traffic in the area and cause problems as far as congestion in the morning. Also, Cherry Valley is a route that is used by people that are going to the high school from Fairway Canyons, also to the junior high school as well. If we add additional traffic as far as trucks on that road, including the trucks that are north of your site, it will be excessive to the point that it will be difficult to handle. We also have a limited area as far as development, as far as traffic interchange. I know that Caltrans is actually in the process of planning out a new interchange, but their plans are not supposed to actually be effective until 2023, 2024 as far as starting. Actually, implementation and execution will probably not be until a few years later. So that is my concern as far as actually the development And I think it's a detriment to the actual people in Fairway Canyons that you're actually setting up this industrial development. It would be much better used as far as a residential community.
Caller, we've exceeded 3 minutes. Do you have any final statements you want to put in there? No other statements? Okay, thank you. Carol, you can send the next caller if you're ready. Caller, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, if I could just make sure that you have your YouTube feed muted so that we don't get an echo.
Okay, I don't think I'm on YouTube.
Oh, okay. All right, perfect. I'll start the clock. Go right ahead.
Okay, yes, thank you for holding this. I think part of what I do when I call is to be critical, because when you're critical of a project, I think you get a better project or a better outcome for the city. So one thing I wanted to be critical of is that the city needs to do a better job on its website to advertise this meeting. I clicked on agendas and links. That should have been an announcement on the homepage of the city website, and I won't be the first. I was very lucky to get the information on this. Then the second is I'm sure I'm not going to be the only one who brings up the idea that housing might be a better use for the property. That you'll probably be getting a chorus of residents who say that. But I did want to ask that they look into the recent SB 9 and SB 10, and if that ties into CEQA, if it's a requirement to meet certain housing needs for the state, and if that is the fact that you're putting a warehouse instead creates a negative impact on the housing stock for the city. So if you look in SB 9 and SB 10, I won't be the only one to be worried about the pollution effect on sensitive receptors. We have a number of residential communities, and I'm sure you'll do the math. I guess they're less than a quarter of a mile away, where we have 10,000 homes within about a 2-mile radius. Another issue I have is spot zoning was a big issue contested by hundreds of Beaumont residents against the Shop-Off project across the street, which is by Supervisor Ashley. He was paid for, he got a $600,000 contribution from the developer, which, in my opinion, was the payment for his vote to approve the Shop-Off project across the street. So I want to know who the owner is. Is it going to be Ashley again on behalf of Shop-Off? I appreciate the friendly face that we're seeing tonight, but ultimately I'd be concerned about if it's the same suspects. Another issue is that it's a bad location. Beaumont has a manufacturing district in South Beaumont where warehouses are concentrated in one location. This is where the warehouses should be zoned and built. And you can see how Redlands did this with its warehouse district. If you need the boundaries, I'll give them to you. But they're all concentrated in one place. So I think from a quality of life issue, it'd be better to have the warehouses in the industrial district. I'm very sad that we had, in my opinion, a corrupt bargain for the Shop-Off warehouse. You don't pay $600,000 to somebody without getting something in return. It's just a fact, and it wasn't covered by the press. So consider the alternative uses. No build, housing. They may be a lesser impact. So I'd like to see it open space, but understand the pressures for growth. So I probably am exceeding my time here, but if I could ask you one favor, please prominently display the project workshops, notices, any kind of meetings on the homepage of the website when we click on agenda, or you can even create another blocked, for, special meeting for this warehouse. I appreciate that you're doing this early in the process. So that's one thing I wanted to thank you for. This is always very important that you do it early like this. So thank you for that, and that's it for now. And thank you for the preview.
Carol, do you have any other callers?
Yes, I do have one caller on the line. I'll transfer them in now.
Okay. Caller, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, if I could just ask you to mute your YouTube feed if you have that on so that we don't get an echo.
Thank you.
Okay, go right ahead.
My name is Julie Lane, and I am a resident of the Cherry Valley Beaumont area. I understand the need for growth. However, my points are as such, not only as previously mentioned, the traffic issues that are going to evolve from several large trucks going in and out. The risk of accidents and life loss are great. However, the smog impact from that traffic is going to greatly reduce our air quality. I believe most people in this general area of Cherry Valley and Beaumont moved here to be rural, to be away from the development and the big warehouses of San Bernardino and that area that has become. And bringing this element in of more warehouses that in an area that is mostly residential or scenic country mountains and such is going to be a huge impact to the quality of life of those people that are in Cherry Valley and Beaumont. It's going to drastically affect the visual scenery of the area. I, for one, live close to the eastern side of this project, and every day we see wildlife and we see beautiful sunsets, and all of that will be taken away and shadowed by big, ugly box warehouses. So I would urge you to really consider not changing the zoning of this project. Residential houses, while I think I can speak for a lot of people that they don't want them either, but we understand there has to be some sort of growth. Don't make it warehouses, please. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, if there's any more callers, we're going to leave them on hold just a moment and switch over to in-person public comment. So Nicole will be calling names to come in and speak.
So what I'll do is I'll call 3 names. That way you guys can queue up. So the first 3 will be Mary Daniel, Steve Melman, and Sharon Hamilton. So if I could take the first speaker, which is Mary Daniel.
Okay, this is just weird. I can't talk this way. Can I turn this way?
No.
The camera's going to get the back of you.
Yeah, the camera's there.
Well, the camera we were watching had, the back was here.
No.
Yeah, look. See?
Right. We're switching. Look.
Oh, thank you. That is not my best sign.
You just need you to be on the microphone so we can
Okay.
record what you're saying.
All right. Is this the microphone here? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Mary Daniel, and I really am astounded that we are talking about inappropriately placed warehouse plans again. In the olden days, developers were enticed to come to Beaumont by the criminals who were ensconced in positions of authority in the city offices. But those bad old days should be gone. The criminals have been indicted and run out of town. New people sit on the city council, and everything was supposed to be different. We were assured that the best interests of the citizens of Beaumont would be taken into account first before any new developments would even be considered. And yet, this particular developer acts like these outrageous plans will be accepted with open arms. Who told these people that this dreadful project sounded like a good idea? Who said, sure, we understand that you own this property, and of course you're entitled to build whatever you think will make the most money for your company. It needs to be made perfectly clear that this is not the case. Up until now, the City of Beaumont has been diligent in keeping the warehouses away from any residential areas and locating them in one large industrial complex south of Highway 60. Sticking to the vision in the general plan is the way rational planning decisions should be made. The approval of Sunny Cow's specific plan for 560 houses, regardless of the protests of Cherry Valley residents, was not surprising since Beaumont was not listening to anyone but the gang in charge, and it was certainly bad enough. But then something worse happened. A guy from Long Beach named Shopoff got to our county supervisor, Marion Ashley, and over the objections of hundreds of people, a huge warehouse was approved and is now being built across the street from this property. When that happened, I wondered, well, who is going to want to live across from a warehouse? Not surprisingly, I suppose, this developer realized the same thing, and thus we have this dreadful plan to abandon the original idea of building houses, which now, of course, no one will buy, and simply change that plan to build warehouses instead. After all, there's already a warehouse close by. Certainly a win-win for the developer. Again, I ask, who told them that this was a great idea? The hundreds of people who objected to that already approved monstrosity on Cherry Valley Boulevard were basically told that their opinions didn't matter. The City of Beaumont, who also sent a letter in opposition to that warehouse, under the signature of Lloyd White, mayor at the time, was told the same thing. In fact, Riverside County ignored that letter and hundreds of others and rammed that project down the throats of Cherry Valley residents. That was the treatment we got from Riverside County, who listened only to the developer and his money. Please tell us that this will not happen in the City of Beaumont. Thank you.
Next speaker is Steve Melman. After that will be Sharon Hamilton, and after that will be Pat Doherty.
Good evening. I don't care how I look, which camera shoots me or not. Okay. I'm Steve, thank you. I'm Steve Melman. I live in Solara. I was co-chair of the No Way Gateway Community Action Group. We are here tonight to help decide what questions should be asked and answered in the environmental impact report on this 2.5 million square foot warehouse complex, larger than the Gateway project. Here are some questions. First, older adults and children are recognized as vulnerable populations and are at greater risk from exposure to environmental hazards. So why should we allow a warehouse within a half-mile of the Solara community with more than 2,500 seniors and across the street from the Stetson community with lots of children? And why should we allow a warehouse directly across the street from a planned community park and open space area? Next, based on previous studies by the South Coast Air Quality Management District, the Summit Station warehouse would attract an estimated 1,600 big rig diesel truck trips a day. This would be in addition to the 1,200 truck trips daily the Gateway would bring to Cherry Valley Boulevard. How can they possibly mitigate this? I'm not anti-warehouse. I believe that warehouses can and should be built in appropriate areas like the Amazon warehouse, which is in the city's manufacturing zone, but this location is not an appropriate place for a warehouse. I recognize the Beaumont City staff is required to review any proposal for development on private property and to recommend approval or disapproval by the City Council. We all remember that the Gateway warehouse was approved by the Board of Supervisors despite the facts and despite the overwhelming opposition of community residents, including the Beaumont City Council. I believe that our community will send a strong message to the City Council. If this project reaches your desk, vote no. As The Who said in their famous hit song, we won't get fooled again. Thank you.
Next speaker is Sharon Hamilton. After that will be Pat Doherty, and after will be Samuel DeLucio.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharon Hamilton, and I live in Cherry Valley. And I'm here to oppose the warehouse project that is currently being reviewed. The project borders Cherry Valley Boulevard, where the Sunny Cow residential community was planned. For many reasons, this is unacceptable to residents who live in the vicinity. The city of Beaumont incorporated the land from Cherry Valley and changed the zoning under the pretense that Sunny Cow would build several single-family houses. They never built the homes. Now a new developer comes along and wants to change the zoning again and build warehouses after the city just finished the general plan. Developers know what the zoning is when they purchase the land. What makes them think it's all right to buy with the idea that they'll be coming in and changing the zoning? This area is the gateway to Cherry Valley, a rural area, not an industrial community. The San Gorgonio Crossing warehouse has already been approved right across the street. Many of the residents in the area use Cherry Valley Boulevard to access the I-10. Other on and off ramps in the area are impacted with traffic, and long lines frequently exist. Where will the residents have to go to access the freeway if these warehouses are built? There are approved zoned areas where warehouses are already built in Beaumont, and that would be the proper place to put more warehouses. The San Gorgonio Crossing warehouse that has been approved isn't even built yet, and the traffic is horrendous. With that comes the pollution from the fuel causing greenhouse gases. There are schools, residential communities, and senior communities close by that would suffer the consequences of greenhouse gases from extra vehicle and truck traffic. Some would say you wouldn't be a very good neighbor to surrounding communities if you allowed these warehouses to be built. There was a tremendous amount of opposition to the San Gorgonio Crossing, and that opposition still exists. The people you serve do not want this area to be filled with warehouses. I hope when I look at the public website for the FPPC that shows contributions for elected officials that I don't see contributions from this developer to local officials. I urge you to deny the developer's request to build these warehouses. Thank you.
Next speaker is Pat Doherty. After that would be Samuel DeLucio, and then Valerie Lise.
Do you know how many people are online or watching this?
I have 27 attendees on
27?
webinar.
The webinar. There's several more on the YouTube.
Yes.
That's not very many. Well, I would like to talk to more people because I'm wondering, when I drive down Cherry Valley Boulevard, I wonder how many other people besides me, their blood pressure goes up, they get aggravated. They watch our hills being torn apart. It's a very sad situation. I look up at the hill and the Berkey residence is up there. They were totally tossed under the bus. They have a child that has asthma, but nobody cared. And so this disgusting, ugly eyesore that we have to deal with now, to the objections of incredible amounts of people and several very important agencies, mattered nothing to a handful of people that made all these decisions. The Highway Patrol didn't want that warehouse there. Makes sense. The AQMD did not want the warehouse there. Makes sense. Hundreds and hundreds of people signed petitions. We were all thrown under the bus. I mean, it's like we don't matter. And it's a pretty sad situation. I went to several Calamasa council meetings where the place was always full of Calamasa residents, many from from Sharondale and from Rancho Calamesa that live right near the Gateway Project, pleading with Jeff Hewitt to not let this go. But he turned his back on his own people, his own constituents, and they didn't matter. And it seems to be that that's the way things go these days. Supervisor Jeffries seemed to be on our side when he stated at the beginning of this is not the place for a warehouse. He was absolutely correct. Yet he turned his back on everybody later and voted for it. Anybody's guess as to why doesn't really matter now, but I think I know why. So you have these same people that are opposed to any warehouse, only more. I'm sure the Highway Patrol doesn't want 2 of them there. The AQMD doesn't want them there. As a matter of fact, when we went to court, Cherry Valley Acres and Neighbors, I'm the treasurer, and we went to court with the Sierra Club over this. And they demanded a new EIR. So, okay, we stalled it while they developed a new EIR. And one of our main gripes was truck pollution. The solution in the EIR for truck pollution was to put solar panels on top of the warehouse. I don't understand what solar panels have to do with truck pollution, but it's like they said, we'll give you that and you have to accept this, because I think we don't matter anymore. I'd like to know that the city of Beaumont will not pull a Jeffries, whereas city council and the water district were both against Gateway. I'd like to hope they still are against this warehouse now that we're in Beaumont, and they won't pull a Jeffries and turn 180 degrees on us. It's Steve Vann's proposal that eliminate the warehouse, put in the retail, put the open space on Cherry Valley Boulevard across from Gateway, where there would be no houses that would worry about being across the street, and develop the rest of the property with the houses that were intended to be there in the beginning. And
Mr. Doherty, we've exceeded 3 minutes. Do you have a
well, I was done.
Okay. I thought so.
Feel free to email or call me if you
I mean,
think
I
of
could probably
anything
have
else.
more to say, but that's good enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Samuel DeLucio. After that will be Valerie Lease, and then John Carroll, I think it says.
Good evening. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here at this meeting today. My name is Samuel DeLucio. I'm a resident of Stetson community. And I have a few concerns, some reasons why I believe that this warehouse project is not in the best interest of our community and the city of Beaumont. Warehouses represent a hazard to the health of the community. According to a study published by the University of Southern California, entitled Storing Harm, the Health and Community Impacts of Goods Movements, Warehousing and Logistics, large clusters of warehouses in residential areas have led to health complications for the residents of those areas. I will quote from the study that says the fastest growing clusters of warehouses serving the goods movement and logistic industry lies in the inland valleys of Riverside and San Bernardino counties in California. Mira Loma, a low-income Latino community in Riverside County, which is surrounded by warehouses and distribution centers, is known to have among the highest levels of particulate pollution in the nation. That pollution has resulted in startling findings. Mira Loma children have the lowest lung growth and weakest lung capacity of all children studied in Southern California. The trucks and trains that carry freight to the, end quote, the trucks and trains that carry freight to the warehouses along the equipment that service them pollute by emitting small toxic particles called particulate matter, or PM. This particulate matter threatens the health of living near these warehouses and idling trucks. There are particulate matters known as PM10, dust and soot of 10 microns or less, which can irritate the throat and lungs. And there's particulate matter PM2.5, which are 2.5 microns or less. These particles, along with ultrafine particles, which are 0.01 microns in size, are considered dangerous. The study conducted by USC determined that particulate emissions from diesel vehicles and equipment contribute to health problems that include cardiovascular problems, cancer, asthma, decreased lung functions and capacity, reproductive health problems, and premature death. We moved to Beaumont specifically because we wanted to run away from these warehouses in our previous residence. It's not just the pollution, it's the constant traffic, people finishing and beginning their shifts, speeding out without utter disregard for the people that live there, the constant noise of forklifts lifting and dropping loads, trucks idling, honking, driving just crazy. So I would urge the city of Beaumont to really consider this project. A lot of people have mentioned moving it to the area that's been designated for all the warehouses. I completely agree. And to conclude, I would just like to say that Beaumont should belong to its residents, not to warehouse developers that are thousands of miles away from us, that have no investment in our community, whose children are not growing in these communities. And finally, I'd like to say that we should put people over profits. Thank you.
Next speaker is Valerie Leese. After that will be John, and then Nancy Hall.
Thank you for letting us speak tonight. My name is Valerie Leese. I live in Cherry Valley. I'm also, or I was, a trucking company owner of a LTL company. We had warehousing in Ontario, California. I just retired after 49 and a half years. And I was also the 2009 California Trucking Association president. So I really feel for the prior speaker because I agree with him. 80% of the trucks in California are from out of state. They don't have the same requirements as the California trucks do, so they do bring in dirtier equipment. So I'm very concerned about that. We don't have the infrastructure to accommodate all of the trucks that are coming in. They say that there's only going to be 1,600 trucks with those 3 warehouses, the Amazon warehouse, 1,200. It's going to be more. We don't have enough truck parking. Look at the rest stops as you go on the 10 freeway. Most of the time it's closed. It's overwhelmed with trucks every day. There's trucks parking on the sides of the freeway. There's not enough capacity for what we want to do in this area. I am also concerned about the crime that's going to be involved with thefts and everything going on around the warehouses. It's going to go up tremendously. The homeless, they're well known for stealing a lot of things off the trailers. You're going to have a lot more of that come in. Your hotel, that will probably accommodate a lot of the trucks and the truck drivers, it's not going to be enough. So I just want you to consider all of that. And if you are going to put warehousing in, do it where the other warehouses are in the area. So you want to keep it away from the residents. You're going to have jake brakes, a lot of the truck noise. It's going to be a fiasco if you put it where it's going to be. Thank you.
Next speaker is John. After that will be Nancy Hall, and then Patricia.
Tess, can you hear me okay? Okay, I'd like to address a couple of comments to the citizenry, mostly, but also to the developer. This is not our first rodeo, folks. We fought Gateway for 8 years, and we learned a lot of lessons in that 8-year period of time. And what I can tell all of the citizens is this: be concerned about environmental safety and air quality, but save your breath, because nobody who is going to make decisions about this cares that much about air quality and things that are going to come up in the environmental report, which I'm sure will be well put together and well presented by the people who are paid for that. The second thing I wanted to do is review the history of this property and tell you why we're here tonight talking about another warehouse, another monster warehouse, 2,500,000 square feet. This property right across the street on Cherry Valley Boulevard all the way down to Brookside was approved in 2017 for 560 residential houses. And according to the general plan that was approved earlier this year, in 2021 by the City Council, that plan, this is in complete contradiction to that plan. That's why there has to be an amendment. That property is zoned residential, not industrial, not a warehouse. So why are we here about a warehouse? Because the guy who got it approved, Sonny Cal, I don't know what his name was, but the guy who got it approved for residential saw his property value and his development go down to the basement when Gateway was approved by the Riverside County Board of Supervisors in 2018. And what he did is he turned around and sold the property to, I understand it's an out-of-state developer, but I don't know that much about the developer. And that developer feels that there would be more of an opportunity to have a warehouse there than it would residences, because nobody wants to live in a residence across from the Gateway warehouse. So that being said, that's the environment that you have to understand of why all of this is happening. And I want everyone to know that if money crosses the path of any politicians who are involved in the decision-making process of this warehouse in the form of a political contribution, we will be informed, and we will inform the public about it immediately. Thank you.
Next speaker is Nancy Hall. After that will be Patricia, and then Dr. Blair Ball.
Can I move it up? Does it bend?
Yeah.
Huh? It should be good. Okay. Okay. So, when in years past, when like Mary Daniels was speaking, when we talked about the corruption and the problems that we had in Beaumont, we were told by the mayor of Redlands, follow the money. Well, unfortunately, in some respect, we only focused on Beaumont. We didn't focus on the county of Riverside. And there was obviously some kind of deal occurring when the county of Riverside Board of Supervisors decided to make it okay for the big warehouse to go in after hundreds of people rented buses and went down in droves to Board of Supervisor meetings to try to stop that project. It is not okay to put those type of warehouses in our small community. Solera, Sun Lakes, Four Seasons, 55 and over communities were sold to homes for persons to come out and live here and retire and have clean air, be in a small town environment. Water, we've been in overdraft for years. How can we possibly give will serve letters to anybody right now until we replenish our water? Highway 60, the new bridge, there's no on and off ramp. We still struggle with getting trucks in and out of the Amazon area. Our streets, we cannot support that new development, even in houses right now. The new owners, I looked them up today, they're actually a global company. They're all over the world. They probably may have been sold a bill of goods. We didn't have the opportunity to see what the actual negotiations said. But often in the past, what we learned in BCRG is that these developers come in and they buy the land, and then 10, 20, 30, 40 years out, they develop. Right now, that's the way I see it. 40, 50 years from now, maybe this area can support that kind of business for them to come in and do that. But right now, no. And we have our kids. We don't have parks for our kids. We don't have enough things to do for our kids. The last thing we need is for our kids to have issues with their lungs from the air quality, for our mountainsides not to be seen, for our stars to be, we need to be able to see our stars at night. We need to know that, that these new owners are not going to change Beaumont. Thank you.
Next speaker is Patricia, and after that will be Dr. Blair Ball.
Patricia did come up and see me while someone else was speaking. She had to leave, and so she said she's going to email the comment.
Okay. Dr. Blair Ball? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to comment. Cherry Valley is known in the county vernacular as a community of influence. It's one of a few within the county which is a quasi-government or quasi-city. Every 5 years we need to re-establish that. I sat on that committee. And we are concerned as Cherry Valley residents that this change in the zoning of Beaumont zoning will be hazardous to us as far as traffic and pollution and everything else has been spoken about. As you've already heard, we were disappointed greatly when Marion Ashley sold out the portion of Cherry Valley. His comment was, well, it's at the edge of Cherry Valley. And when you sever the left arm, the next piece of property is next to the new zoning changes. And you sever the right arm. Then you sever the left leg and the right leg and so forth. And Cherry Valley will cease to exist. We are here for generations because we want to be here in this environment. We feel this is injurious to us as a community of interest. It stops one of our great exits to the freeway, Cherry Valley Boulevard, with the increased traffic, which leaves us the option of Beaumont Avenue, State Highway, and its multiple stoplights. We cannot go to the east readily down Highland Springs. That is congested already. So we would encourage a no change on the zoning from the city of Beaumont. If that should happen, then the next parcel is county, and we see that this will continue down the line through Hannon to Beaumont Avenue, and then from what goes wherever it wants to go. I understand these people want to make a buck. I would encourage them to look at making that property an equestrian estate property. It would be a diamond in Southern California, with riding trails within the community, with common arenas, lighted arenas. Those homes would be million-dollar homes. And I think they would recover their money, and it would be an asset to the city of Beaumont and to Cherry Valley and to the community. Thank you.
I have no other speaker forms. Do you want to switch over to the phone line, see if anybody is on the phone?
Please. Okay. Yes.
Carol, do we have any callers on the line?
We have no callers on the line.
Great. Is there anyone else in attendance here at City Hall that would like to speak? If so, please come on down to the council chambers. We'll give it a minute or two to see if anybody wants to come down. In the meantime, all of the comments that have been received in the chat, predominantly echo most of what has been spoken here in person in the chamber, but I do want to let everyone know the chat comments have also been noted and will be a part of the comment record for this project. So we'll give it just another minute here and see if anybody comes down to the council chambers. If not, we'll go ahead and wrap up. I don't hear anybody coming down the hall. Haven't had anybody come in and request to speak. So on behalf of the City of Beaumont, I would like to thank everybody for their participation. We have received a number of comments prior to this meeting via email and phone, all of which have been noted for the record and will be part of the project record. As was stated earlier, we still will be taking comments through October 22nd pertaining to the EIR issues to be considered. I would like to note that regarding the project in general, city staff will continue to take comments throughout the project review period. So the purpose of...
As soon as you're done, we have a caller on the line.
The purpose of this meeting tonight was to take information on things that should be considered in the environmental impact report. However, again, we will still continue to take comments on the project itself. After October 22nd, it may be a little challenging to get a new issue considered in the EIRs. The analysis will be underway, but again, we will continue to take those comments. We do have a caller on the line, so I'll turn it over back to Nicole.
Carol, when you're ready, you can transfer it in. Caller, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to adjust your volume. Or a little low, but go right ahead.
Hello, I'm Helen Mesra, and I live on Cherry Valley Boulevard. I'm about 2 miles from the freeway, and Beaumont has built 5 schools in a 3-mile radius of Cherry Valley Boulevard, Beaumont Avenue, and Highland Springs. When I look out my door in the morning, there are over 1,000 cars dropping off their children to the high school. And I'm sure some of them are coming from across the other side of the freeway. And I cannot even get out of my driveway at 8 o'clock in the morning or at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You cannot go down Beaumont Avenue because of all of the school traffic, and you cannot go down Highland Springs. Cherry Valley Boulevard is our only way of getting out to the 10 freeway. And with the warehouse that's now being built, which is a horrible, horrible eyesore, I just feel that any more warehouses, we're pretty much going to be in gridlock here in Cherry Valley. We won't be able to go in or out or go anywhere. So unless Beaumont's willing to do a little more for infrastructure, possibly doing about another 10 on-ramps and off-ramps of the freeway, so we have alternate routes, I just feel this warehouse will just definitely be just not good for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol, do we have any other callers?
We have no callers on the line.
All right. So I think we have received all the public comment. We have continued to receive some comments in the chat, and I do want to know, I don't think I was able to respond to everybody's in there, but we have noted those comments for the record. If you're still here at City Hall, I'm available. I have some cards with my contact information if you don't have it already. If you'd like to pick one up, so you can either email me or call me, call the planning department, or share the comment information with other residents in your neighborhood or throughout the city. I'm available here still. In the meantime, this presentation has been posted on the City of Beaumont Planning Department website, where you'll find all the information about this project. This meeting is recorded this evening, and we will have the recording posted to the website, as well as the YouTube through the City of Beaumont YouTube channel, where the meeting will be available for viewing at any time. Once again, we thank you all for your participation. We look forward to future interactions and engagement regarding this project. In the meantime, like I said, feel free to please contact the planning department if you have any questions or comments or would like any additional information. Have a good evening. Thank you all.